Ahir, Guardian of Malor, Chapter 2, Trials of Immortals. A pile of coins and crumpled up dollar bills sat in the middle of an upturned old orange crate. Ahir and Barbo worked on separating them into stacks of the different denominations. Ahir leaned back against the wall with a sigh. Only $50.37. I can't believe we only made $50 from a crowd that size and stunts that good. At this rate, we aren't going to be able to pay Larry back in time. I should go back out and try to do a show or two, but I can't leave the girl here alone, and we definitely can't let her go without making sure she doesn't tell anyone about us. Ahir stood up and turned to look at Trixie, who was lying passed out on the only real piece of furniture in the apartment, an old stained mattress. Barbo smiled at Ahir.
I will look after the female and ensure that she is informed of our predicament, and the paramountcy of her cooperation and silence on the matter. You go ahead, and how would you phrase it? Bring home the bacon?
One of these days, Barbo, I'm going to teach you to talk normal. In the meantime, I'm going out to do a couple of shows. Try not to make her faint again. Ahir zipped his backpack shut and put it on his back.
Where will you be performing, in case another portal opens?
Let's see, it's 4:30 now. I can get to the business district in time to do a show before they go home for the night, and then to the gardens. That is a popular after-work destination. I might even be able to grab a piece of fruit or two for us while I'm there.
Oh, an apple would be most appreciated, I hear. Apples almost make my exile in this simian form a boon.
In that case, I might have to stop by a fruit stand on my way home, if they don't have anything growing in the gardens. I hate to make the situation any worse for you than it already is.
Of all the mortals in this realm, it is most fortuitous for me that the sword judged you to be worthy.
Maybe I'll just get some bananas and grapes, Ahir said. Barbo glared at him. Ahir smiled and started backing toward the door. I'm just kidding, Barbo. I'll bring you home some nice juicy apples. I promise. Ahir opened the door, waved, and walked out into the hall and closed the door behind him. Barbo jumped onto the counter, landing on top of a pile of bills, all of them with big red letters across the top saying, Past Due, and then jumped up onto a little hammock he had hung near the ceiling.
Humans!
Barbo lay in his hammock, rocking it side to side until he heard Trixie stir. Trixie sighed and said sleepily,
I had the strangest dream about a talking monkey and a giant monster.
She looked around at her surroundings, and her voice turned to panic.
Wait, this isn't my bed. Where am I? What's going on?
Barbo dropped down from his hammock on the ground next to the bed.
Please remain placid. I know this is an unusual occurrence for you, but I will explain everything to you presently.
Trixie's eyes opened wide and her mouth dropped open.
So the talking monkey wasn't a dream. Was the rest of it real too? Where am I? Who are you?
Yes, you did see Ahir combat a creature. Ahir brought you back to his domicile in order that we may ask for your secrecy on the matter. I am Barbo, advisor to King Dardo, and counselor to Ahir.
Trixie frowned.
I thought Ahir was just a street performer. What else has he got himself involved in?
Barbo bowed his head before answering.
I'm abashed to have to disclose to you that the dimension that I hail from is dragging your world into our affairs. Ahir has been chosen to thwart those dark designs, and is the only entity preventing the beings of my dimension from being enslaved and your world being cast into darkness.
Trixie groaned.
I know that this is all serious and everything, but I feel like I need a thesaurus just to understand what you're saying. Can't you try speaking in plain English?
Barbo raised his head and frowned at Trixie. He muttered to himself,
Uneducated brutes. If the fate of my world wasn't in the balance, I'd say Ling can't have them all. It wouldn't be any real loss to society.
He cleared his throat before continuing.
What I'm trying to say, miss, is that there are plans in my world for an evil sorcerer to use the people of your world to take over our world, and the only one who can stop him is Ahir.
Trixie gasped.
Ahir's the only one that can save your world? He's just a street performer. What can he do?
It's not so much what he can do as it is what is in his heart.
Trixie's face scrunched up in confusion.
Let me see. What would be the best way to explain this? I'll have to go back to the beginning. Yes, that would be most beneficial for this young female. Make yourself comfortable, miss. I'm about to explain the history of my people to you, and why we need Ahir's aid. My people are known as the Ahir, and where your people have lifespans of decades, we live for millennia. Unlike you humans, our lives are dedicated to science and architecture, creating advances unrivaled in any other race in all of existence, while you humans focus on finding better ways to kill each other.
Trixie interrupted Barbo in an outburst of anger.
That's not true. We've come up with all sorts of advances in medicine and other sciences that makes our everyday life better.
Forgive me, miss. I do not mean to condemn your race, but you have to admit that every advance you make eventually ends up making its way into the hands of your military and gets turned into something that aids in spreading war and destruction. As I said, pointing out the shortcomings of your people was not my intention. Admittedly, as violent as your race is compared to mine, it is my race that is threatening the enslavement of both of our peoples. As I was saying, our land was a place of peace and prosperity, all ruled over by Dardo, our king. He, as his fathers before him, led our people, making sure that no one lacked anything. Under his leadership, our people discovered advances that allowed us to visit neighboring planets and improve the lives of others, methods of instantaneous travel, and synthetic food production. The aureus aveum are bees that cannot be slain by any weapon but one, the gladio prodigat, forged by a master smith, Lars Crit. The idea of his people killing one another horrified Dardo, and he ordered that no other such weapon should ever be forged, and the gladio prodigat should be destroyed. But a seer foretold that the sword would be the salvation of our people, so it was locked away in the royal vault instead. Now Do had a son, named Lane Khan. Lane Khan, being a great scholar, discovered magic and how to bend it to his will. Many of our people came to learn from him, and through this our land experienced even greater prosperity. Lane Khan felt that this discovery showed that he was more fit for leadership than his father, and he grew bitter and tired of waiting. As his heart grew darker by the day, so did magic. As his discoverer, his heart and the heart of magic were connected, and soon everyone who channeled the magic was transformed into Lane Khan's obedient slaves. It was then that Lane Khan started to form a plan. He would take the Gladio Prodigat and use it to take over the kingdom. I learned of this plan and told Dardo of what his son schemed. He gave me a task. He cast a spell over the sword, so that only the hero with courage and selflessness in his heart could wield the blade, and then he opened a portal and sent me through to your world. Traveling through the portal changed my form so that I look the way I do now, because the portals change your form to reflect whatever is in your heart.
Trixie snickered.
You have a monkey in your heart? Do you really like bananas or something?
Bananas are a most foul and disgusting food, and I don't understand how you humans can stand them. Apparently, the attributes I hold closest in my heart are similar to that of a simian's, yes, but while this form is humiliating, it has helped me to blend in and move amongst you humans without too much commotion. It was after I arrived in this world that I met Ahir.
The door of the apartment opened up and Ahir walked through, a brown paper bag in his hands. Ahir smiled, reached inside of the bag, and pulled out an apple, which he tossed to Barbo. We are in luck. While they didn't have any apples growing at the garden, they did have lots of grapes, peaches, and oranges growing there, and I was able to sneak away with some of those. I also made enough at the shows that I was able to afford to get you some apples, so eat up, buddy. Barbo eagerly caught the apple and bit into it, tears of happiness streaming down his face.
You are a good man, Ahir. No matter what else I say about you, I want you to know that.
I will try to remember that, Barbo. I see that our guest has woken up. Could I get you something, Miss Trixie? Perhaps a nice, fresh-picked peach? Trixie shook her head.
No, thank you. But if I might trouble you for a glass of water?
Coming right up. Ahir picked up a tin can that was sitting on the counter and slid the window next to the kitchen sink open. He grabbed a large tin can half full of water and poured some of it into the smaller one. He handed the tin can to Trixie.
What is this?
Trixie asked, taking the tin can from Ahir. Rainwater. We try not to use the sink as much as we can to try and keep the water bill down. So how have things been going here? Trixie set the tin can aside without taking a drink.
Barbo was telling me about his world, and was about to tell me about how the two of you met.
Ah, I see. Well, he's going to be busy with that apple for a while, so I suppose I could take over the story from here.